Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, this is one that I want to talk about here because I believe personally it ties into a belief I have in terms of what is going to occur in the Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Davis fight. So I want you guys to tune in to that. But this past weekend, we know that Shakur Stevenson was fighting Josh Padley. And during that whole fight, Gervonta Davis mentioned LOL. He said LOL on his social media account, which I thought was interesting. Now, he later said that he wasn't concerned about that fight and that, he implied that that's not what he was responding to. But of course, fight fans are going to believe that's what Gervonta Davis was talking about when he mentioned or said LOL. Now, it's interesting, Jay, because after that, subsequent to that, Shakur Stevenson made a statement. He said Gervonta Davis is too interested or distracted by him. He needs to be focused on Lamont Roach. And because of that, he is going to put his money, Jay, on Lamont Roach. Now, from my,
That's silly.
Well, okay. So let's talk about it. From my perspective, okay, Shakur is somewhat tying into something that I thought about. And I mentioned on our live stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that I personally believe that Lamont Roach is going to be more of a challenge than what people think he's going to be, right? Do I think he's going to beat Tank? No, I don't think he's going to beat Tank. But I do believe he's going to be more of a challenge. And Shakur is putting his money on Gervonta Davis, would suggest that possibly there could be an upset. I've heard some other people thinking that. Tank has been a little bit frustrated about some of the conditions that he's had in terms of training camp and some other things. So is it possible that he's distracted? I don't know. But I do believe that this fight is going to be closer than what many people think. Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I said on the live stream yesterday on 4 p.m. that this fight's going to be closer than what a lot of people think. Early on, I think it will be. I say it's silly for Shakur to say that because that's your money. That's your biggest payday of your career. That's your peer that's going to give you the biggest, bang for your buck if you were to beat him, face Tank Davis and beat him. Why would you put money on another guy fighting him and want that guy to almost say like that guy should win or you think he's going to beat Tank? That makes no sense to me. You want Tank like Tank, handle your business. We'll meet up later this summer. That's what that's what I would be thinking because I want to fight the best. So why would I want someone else to knock him off before I can take him out? So that's why I said silly. I think Lamont Roach is going to be tougher than most because people are discrediting Lamont Roach like he's some bum or something like that. He is a champion. He's fought at 135 and 140 before. He's fought Tank in the amateurs and lost to Tank twice. Sometimes when you fight someone before, it's going a little bit harder to beat them again because they have extra motivation to try to take care of you. They don't want to see you get another win on them. That's what I would be like as well. I'm like, nah, this guy I can't lose him again. So that's why I said silly for him to want to say Lamont Roach should win or he's going for Lamont Roach with his money in that sense there. It's going to be a tougher fight than a lot of people are giving it credit for. Lamont Roach is a durable, smart fighter. So they need to give the respect for Lamont Roach. He's not coming off a 3-day notice and primary electrician.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, man, it's boxing, right? We know it's boxing. Boxing is the theater of the unknown, and we know what can happen in the sport of boxing. I believe just due to Lamont Roach's history with Gervonta Davis, probably a bit of inside knowledge in terms of some of the, the mechanics of what Tank does, so forth and so on. I think the fight's going to be a lot more competitive than what people think it's going to be. And I don't see Tank getting upset. But again, boxing is the theater of the unknown. And let's be honest. Let's be quite frank here. If we look at Gervonta Davis's last, let's call it 2 opponents in Lamont Roach, because this is the interesting part to me, Jay. The last 2 opponents in Lamont Roach and Frank Martin versus Shakur Stevenson's last 2 opponents and like a Keyshawn Davis last 2 opponents, Artem and Padley. He's actually taken on more formidable opponents than the guys that everybody says are fighting all the top fighters, when in reality, they're really not. I think by far, Gervonta Davis's last 3 opponents have been more challenging than Keyshawn Davis's last 3 opponents in Padley, Artem, and De Los Santos. So it's
Shakur's last 3 opponents.
Shakur last 3 opponents.
Yeah, you said Keyshawn's last 3.
Well, Shakur's last 3 opponents. So that's essentially what I'm saying. So I think that this is going to be a competitive fight. I think people should be aware and concerned about this being a competitive fight. And I think people should tune in because they're going to see a Lamont Roach that's going to be motivated. He doesn't have anything to lose. And I think we're going to see much more competitive fights than we've seen over the last couple of fights from Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis.
Without a doubt. I mean, people are discrediting Lamont Roach, but they want to give Keyshawn credit for Lemos and Dennis Berechek and Pedraza. You know, both of whom we saw will pull down in weight and go long in the tooth, as you like to say. Pedraza well beyond his best years in boxing. Lemos was overweight and coming down. Dennis was very small and tough fight with him and Navarrete, but Navarrete is just a slugger, you know. So I mean, those guys weren't comparable to Lamont Roach, in my opinion. Same thing with what Shakur's fault. The last 3 for Shakur, we saw the way Shakur ran with De Los Santos. He got booed on that one. Got booed against Artem. Got a little bit booed yesterday. I mean, on Saturday night, you know, although he got booed mainly because he was on other turf, pretty much more people for Josh than him on that. But yeah, Tank's been taking more risks than that because Frank was actually a top 5 fighter at 135. I don't think Josh Padley was top 5.
No, I don't disagree with that. So we'll see what ends up happening. Again, much more competitive fight. I'm interested in seeing how the fight ends up unfolding or developing. I would tell people again, do not be shocked if you see that this fight is a lot more competitive than what you thought it was going to be on Saturday night. And I know people are going to then try to denigrate Tank. They're going to elevate certain opponents, or at least the peers of Gervonta Davis. They're going to elevate them because they want to demonstrate that, you know, Gervonta Davis isn't this or he isn't that. And that's perfectly fine, even though they're taking on opponents that we know are lower level. But it is what it is. I'm looking forward to the fight. This is fight week. We'll be covering some more Gervonta Davis stuff for the rest of the week leading up into the fight. And I can't wait to see it. So you guys tell us what you think in the comment section. Is Shakur Stevenson doing the right thing by placing his money on Lamont Roach? Will Gervonta Davis be successful in this fight, or will Lamont Roach pull off a Buster Douglas-like upset? Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are out.